Hi everyone, my name's Rebecca and thanks for watching my tutorial. My presentation topic is how can blogs and wikis be used effectively in a primary classroom. So I just thought I'd start by explaining a little bit about Web 2.0. As you all know, it's made online social participation easier for anyone with internet access. Originally only people with programming knowledge could create websites, but now anyone can publish through user-friendly interactive applications. Social media includes Facebook, Twitter and other websites, as we've explored in this course, but this talk will focus on wikis and blogs. So what are wikis and blogs? Both wikis and blogs are forms of website where anyone registered can add, create, upload content, including text, photos, other pictures and diagrams, movies, audio, other files and hyperlinks that can be embedded for the pages of interest. Both wikis and blogs can be either public or private, and the owner can choose to invite others into the group. Private groups could include special interest groups, or they could be schools for privacy and protection of the students. School groups may include access for the family or other community members, and both options, the groups and the schools, could actually be made public for the benefit of global interactions. In addition to the above, one of the main differences between a wiki and a blog is on a wiki, existing content can be edited by other registered users, whereas on a blog it can't. But on blogs, comments and feedbacks can be added as a form of interaction. A general rule with blogs and wikis is to make them non-biased and factual. However, in the case of a class blog, I think a student's point of view can be valuable depending on the work being presented, as this indicates enjoyment, engagement and understanding values about a topic. Because wikis and blogs offer multimodal experiences and options, they provide engaging and enjoyable new ways to capture and represent learning for students. With the ability to make class and wikis blogs public, or for a teacher to make a connection with another classroom or teacher somewhere else in the city, country or world, this enables an interconnectedness with an immediacy that hasn't been offered prior to the internet. Previously, the only way for students to interact with others outside their school was via letters posted, and depending on where the recipient was, this would actually incur long delays. Another advantage is because they're both an online record of student work and interactions, teachers can use them for both formative and summative assessment. These three concepts will be discussed further in the presentation. So what is a wiki? A wiki is a collaborative website where anyone registered or given access can create and upload content or edit existing entries, which means it's considered a never completed and in a constant state of flux. There are two possible reasons for the name wiki. If you use the capital letters of what I know is, W-I-K-I, or it's also the Hawaiian word for quick. Wikis have been described as facilitating citizen journalism, where everyone can contribute, but no one is an expert, and often anonymous and username identified only contributions. On wikis, shared ideas and collaborations are valued instead of individualism. It's a shared authorship compared to books or scholarly journal articles, where you know they're written by a respected author expert in their field and you can look up their credentials. Although with wikis, it is encouraged to actually use references. A wiki can be public or private. One of the most famous wikis is Wikipedia, which was created in 2001 and is classed as a continually updated, never complete, because of the range of topics within the world is limitless. As of the 6th of May, there were 500 million visitors per month, 130,000 active contributors to 30 million articles in 257 languages. There are other smaller wikis created for many reasons by user groups of people with similar interests that can share their information with each other and often leave them open to the public. When a user edits or adds information to a wiki, it's logged to that user, and some wikis have the option of being able to see prior versions of the same page for comparison. I'm going to show you an example of a Wikispaces class page now. This is a grade 3-4 class, and as you'll be able to see, there are actually activities that the students have been doing, and on the left-hand side there are activities, and there are actually lists of texts that have been actioned. Also across the top there's a search bar and a guest bar, join, help, sign in, things like that. But you will notice in the center of the top there's actually an edit button, and that, as I said, is the difference between a wiki and a blog, is that the pages can actually be edited once they've been embedded into the documents. Down the right hand side there's home, but there's also a list of pages, and I'm going to show you some different pages in a minute in this blog, in this wiki, sorry. And there's also a map, and that's actually one of those maps that shows you where in the world people have actually logged in from and had a look at this site. The next page I'm going to show you is the map. I've actually clicked on the little map, and it's actually indicating now it's a live statistic of what students, what people around the world have actually logged on. So you can see Australia, there was lots of people, there's almost 9,000 visitors, and it's 98% of the amount of people that have actually logged onto this site. And that's a really good way to engage your students, to say to them, look, what you're doing is being read by other people. And that's really exciting for students to realise that their work is being viewed by people outside their own community. The last page that I'm going to show you in this wiki space is actually a list of files that students have uploaded. So there might be JPEGs, there might be PowerPoint documents, there could be videos potentially. And down the right hand side you'll actually notice that there's a username and the date that they were put in. This will be useful later on when we talk about assessing using wikis and blogs. A weblog, or blog, is one of Web 2.0's best-known applications. In its simplest form, it's a reverse-dated, meaning most recent article on top, web page or journal, where users submit text, photos, videos, links or files on a semi-regular basis. Sometimes they're submitted every day, sometimes several times a day, and other times there can be a long space in between. There's no set format, it's user-defined and decided. As stated earlier, a blog can't be edited, so once a post is created, it stays there unless it's deleted. Users simply publish new entries. One way to actually interact with a blog, though, is to actually put comments or feedback underneath a post, and in that way people can comment on other people's work, or alternately the creator of the work can actually respond back to that feedback. Most blogs have a standard format. At the top there's a heading, in the centre there are the main items, embedded text, pictures, files, videos, etc. And on the right hand column there's a section at the top for links to other blogs. Under this is quite often about me. Then below that there's a site meter, or there can be a site meter, which indicates number of reads. Another thing that might be here is a list of previous uploads or blogs. I'll just show you a couple of different examples now in some photos. The blog that I just had displayed was a teacher blog, and on it actually had two slides. The first slide was the main format with the heading and the blog entries, and it had some links down the side. The second page was actually a bit further down the page. I scrolled down and it had its followers, and it also had a cluster map, which is like a reads, but it actually indicates where in the world those readers are from. I'm going to put up a slide in a minute of 4 examples of Joe Villas's blogs. So that's our tutor. Thanks, Joe, for sharing those with me. So Joe actually uses very different formats in all of her blogs. So it's very interesting to actually have a look at them and compare them to each other. Some of them actually do have the consistent formats that I was mentioning, where entries are put on the left-hand side usually, and links are usually down the right-hand side. But just have a look at them. I've also noted that she uses 2 different types of blog pages. So she uses Weebly, but she also uses EduBlogs. And another blog that I found mentioned in the books that I was reading was Kid Blogs. The disadvantage of Kid Blogs was that although EduBlogs and Weebly are free, Kid Blogs was free for users, but for the teacher to actually create the classroom, so to create the group, was going to be charged. But at least the advantage of that is that kids can still use it at home for free, and it just means that there's a cost to the school. So now that we've had a think about what a blog and a wiki are, I just want you to have a bit of a brainstorm about the pros and cons of students actually having anytime, anywhere access to global websites and to other people actually having access to their information as well. So having a public classroom blog. So just do a bit of a brainstorm on that and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, so now that you've had a bit of a brainstorm, I just thought I'd run through a few of the ones that I thought of. One of the benefits is that connections to others around the world, irrespective of location and time zone. So with an asynchronous application like a wiki or a blog, people can log in from anywhere, anytime, and others can view, comment or interact at their own convenience at a later stage. So as I mentioned earlier, in past times, before the internet, some of you may remember that the only way to actually interact with people interstate or overseas, etc., besides a very expensive phone call, was to actually have a pen pal. So we used to actually have to write letters, post the letters, wait for the post to come and the mailman to do his thing, and then we actually opened up the piece of paper and read it and responded back. That took a very long time. So in an interactive world through the internet, students can actually connect and interact with other people much more quickly, and that's much more engaging for them as well. Another benefit of having a blog or a wiki page is that they can publish text, pictures, etc. online, and it's a great way to reflect, build ICT skills and create a portfolio of their work. Some of the risks to be aware of are identity safety. So if the wiki or blog is public, then you can't always trust that people are who they say they are. And you also need to remember that children are going to have their identity also publicised. So it's really important to teach children not to use their real names and their ages, etc. on a page like this, or alternately for this teacher to actually choose to lock the page down, or to not use names and faces and things like that, and always get the parents' permission to publicise students' work, and particularly to publicise if you're going to publicise their faces. Some of the pages that I went onto did actually have students' faces on them, and I've chosen not to use those sites, even though they were really good examples, because I didn't want to actually be re-blogging other children's faces. Another risk involved with online interaction is cyberbullying. So cyberbullying is really dangerous. Obviously, people might be able to say things to a cyberspace that they may not actually say to your face, but there are also going to be the people who are racist or rude, offensive, who just want to pull down other people's work and criticise it. And that's really dangerous emotionally for a student to go through that. So it's just something to keep in mind. And if that happens, you may actually need to get to a situation where you block a user. Another thing that students need to be aware of is what goes on the web stays on the web, and it's always available in future. And we have touched on that in other presentations. So get students to consider what they do online, that it may affect their current and future real-life relationships, not online, but, well, online as well, but their real-life relationships. And it can also affect their future employment opportunities. Another thing to consider is that not all students have equal access to the internet at home, and not all students have the same skills as each other to utilise and upload. So it's important to remember that if you are creating assignments for students to do at home at night, some of them aren't actually going to have access to computing hardware or internet at home. And maybe they're sharing a computer with another family member, so they might have access to it one night but not potentially the next night. And as I said, not all students will have the same IT skills, so although their work in other areas and other subjects may be fantastic, they may not actually be able to represent it online to the same degree that someone who has better skills online. So what are the advantages of wikis and blogs for teachers and students? Wikis and blogs are often multimodal, and this can be engaging for a variety of students and incorporate different learning styles and forms of expression. Another advantage of a wiki or blog is that it's easy access anytime, anywhere, as long as there's internet access and a hardware, obviously, in a computer or laptop. Opportunities to learn and record learning through different modes of video, text, audio, photo and created pictures and charts, etc. does again, as I said, create different opportunities for students to prove their learning. Teachers can create and upload quizzes, polls, homework pieces, send reminders, set calendar items, and send messages as well as notes. And they can also, on some systems, see when students have logged on to access learning and do their work. The other advantage is reflection or publishing of work, as I will address later, requires higher order thinking and develops metacognitive skills. Students need to remember task and reflect on it to be able to communicate about that task. So how can students in classrooms use blogs and wikis? They can share their work with others in the classroom and outside the classroom, for example, parents or the public. They can interact by reading each other's work either within their own class or another class that they're a member of or a public community or group. On a wiki, that could include editing, and on a blog they could provide feedback through comments on others' work. By collaborating as a team to create an entry is another way that they can use a blog or a wiki. To connect with the outside world to find other perspectives and experiences and increase their understanding globally about a topic. They can publish their work, which requires higher order thinking and critical reflective skills, especially if they're reporting about something that they have learned in the classroom. They'll also need to recognise their own metacognitive processes. So the next topic I want to address is how can a teacher use a blog or a wiki for assessment. So technology is a really useful tool for assessment. Blogs and wikis can be used as either a form of formative or summative assessment. An individual item can be assessed for its literacy, either as a written text or its ICT development and application. Teachers can gain an understanding of what students do and don't know by what they contribute to a blog. They can also assess what students write, and it can be used for developing future lesson plans as well as to assess the effectiveness of a particular lesson. Blogs and wikis allows teachers to look over students' work and entries and comments to assess their development in a subject area. Similarly to a workbook, comparisons can be made by older versus the newer work. And teachers can also assess students' values and understandings of a subject by the way a student's reflections are entered. What is netiquette? Netiquette is internet etiquette. Often at the beginning of a year, a teacher will discuss class rules. In the same way, internet rules and protocols should be introduced for students to become safe and respectful interactive citizens. These ideas come from Making the Move to K-12 Online Teaching by Rice, 2012. The first one is remember the human. If you wouldn't say something to a person's face, don't say it over the internet, via email, text or social media formats like wikis and blogs. Feelings can be hurt just as easily online. Follow standards of behaviour that you do in real life. Behave ethically and don't break the law, for example, privacy or copyright laws. Know where you are and know the rules of that cyberspace. Different groups, games, etc. will have different rules. Learn them so you can learn to conform to them. Respect others' time and bandwidth. Everyone has a right to interact and contribute. Allow people their own time to respond to your queries and comments. Always ensure to make yourself look good online. What I mean by that is write well, don't use offensive language, and be polite. Share expert knowledge. Share what you know with others and they will appreciate it, but don't be a know-it-all and correct their mistakes. So that's the next point, is don't participate or start in interacting with other people and forgive their mistakes. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't correct spelling mistakes or respond to what you think are silly questions. If you want to respond, do it privately. Don't publicly embarrass someone. Don't participate or start flame wars, and remember that capital letters are shouting, so should always be avoided unless absolutely necessary. Respect other people's privacy. Don't share private communications and especially not their personal details without the other person's permission. Don't abuse your power. Don't take advantage of others who are less ICT capable than you are. Some applications have emoticons embedded into them. For example, Edmodo has feelings in the comments. Other times you can type them into text like a little smiley face. Use these wisely and appropriately. While it might be okay to lol your friends via SMS, a classroom blog is probably not the right place to do that. When researching this topic, I read and found lots of articles and blogs and wikis of different types, so here are some examples of how teachers and classrooms have used wikis and blogs. In America, there was an East Coast West Coast program and it actually shared art, it enabled students to share art with others on the opposite side of the continent. They were able to collaborate and comment on the other people's work. English blogs have been used by students in China, Turkey and other countries to practice their English. In the Turkish example, the teacher would create a blog entry and load text for the students to read, including vocab and activities. Then the students would create journals and collaborate, sharing, reading and editing other people's work. In a UK, a rural town connected with another rural town, and in Singapore as well, to compare experiences and connect outside their limited community and physical range of movement. In Taiwan, a life PE education blog was used for 10 weeks, and the students created e-portfolios, completed learning sheets, blogged articles, and life education value scales were surveyed during the reports. They increased collaboration, ICT literacy, and life values during that 10 weeks. Another article reflected on how students share experiences with parents in the community and the responses that parents and community provide feedback and in some cases even contributed to the blogs themselves. A history blog enabled multiple students to collaborate with other schools and they encouraged higher order thinking and critical thinking through these interactions. A blog in Scotland allowed students to publish about whatever they were interested in using text, animation and videos, but they used a grandmother rule, which basically meant if you didn't want your grandmother to read it, don't post it. In Hong Kong, students scaffolded each other's learning through collaborative and interactive writing, teaching and editing. Another one, I can't remember where it was from, was a maths blog. I don't think it actually mentioned it. A maths blog where students published reflections and learnings which reinforce the lessons of the day. Blogs of classes show examples of genres of writing, including narrative, informative and persuasive. I also found on Edmodo there are lots of teacher blogs, so it would help me learn how to use ICT with my future students. There are lots of groups I can join for specific topics, for example Year 5 Maths if I wanted to, or a general maths one for all the topics. So this is the end of my wikis and blogs presentation. I hope it's clarified what a wiki and a blog are, how students can use them, how teachers can use them, and I've given you examples of how teachers have actually used them to enhance their students' learning. Thank you for watching. I look forward to your feedback.